Hello everyone. For those who don't know me, my name is Jamie Briggs. I'm a church warden and assistant treasurer at St Peter's Toton. You all know that the coronavirus pandemic has been a difficult time for all charities, and our church is no exception. Thanks to the support of our congregation, we were able in 2020 to pay all of our outgoings in full and finish the year in really a far better position than we ever thought we would. But unfortunately, some of our supporters' situations have since changed, and they're not able to continue giving at the previous level. And that does mean that our income has fallen and that we are now in something of a difficult position. Let me share with you some figures on why I say that and what the position is in which we now find ourselves. Our income is just over £5,000 a month. You will see from this slide, we're almost entirely reliant on the regular donations coming into our bank account from our members. In previous years, we would have been able to supplement that with room hire, with cash donations on the plate. That hasn't been possible in any meaningful way while the coronavirus pandemic has been ongoing. Our outgoings, unfortunately, are just under £6,500 a month. The bulk of that goes on what's called giving for ministry. That's our contribution to Central Church of England costs, which includes, amongst other things, wages for ministers and central support services, training for future ministers, and the pension scheme. We made some hard decisions at the Church Council at the start of 2021 to reduce our outgoings in the hopes that we'll be able to balance the books. We're now giving less for giving ministry than we were before, and indeed less than the figure that is assessed as the contribution that each parish would need to make in order to meet its share of those central costs. We've also had to reduce our tithing, that is the contribution that we as a church make to other Christian charities, from our previous commitment of 10% to 7.5%. That's something that as a council we were very reluctant to do. We know that many of the charities that we support are themselves struggling at the moment, but really something that we felt we had no choice but to do. Now, as I say, that was before we learned that our income was going to significantly reduce, and the measures that we have taken will no longer be enough to sustain us. Well, it doesn't take a maths genius to see that we have a shortfall of just over £1,300 a month. And that is a position that you'll appreciate can't be sustained for very long. It's not just the pandemic, of course. Before the pandemic, we would get about £375 a month in room hire, and cash giving in services and so forth came to about £185 a month on average. So, as it says on this slide here, if everything went back to normal, if you can use that phrase, tomorrow, we'd still have a shortfall of over £750 a month. So it would slow the decline, but it wouldn't solve the problem. So what can we do? Well, whatever we do, I think our response needs to be prayerful. I think we need to carefully reflect on what God is asking us, each as individuals, to do. And I think a helpful question to reflect on is, are we honouring God in what we choose to do with our money? And our response should also be proportionate. We are called to a lifestyle of generous giving. And the backdrop to that we're asked to reflect on in teaching from the church is the Old Testament principle of tithing, that is, giving a tenth of all that you receive back to God. And today the advice from the Church of England is that we should, if we are able, give 5% of our income to the church and another 5% to other Christian charities. It's fair to say that that should be the start of the reflective process and not necessarily the end. There will be many people, I suspect, hearing this who would struggle greatly to make that sort of contribution. There may be people listening to this who would be able to afford more than that. I don't know all of your personal circumstances, and it is for each of us to reflect. What really does it mean for me in my situation to give generously? So how will we respond to this challenge? Generous giving to charities in general and to the church in particular is an important part of Christian discipleship. Of course, what is generous will vary depending on our individual circumstances, but I am asking each of you to reflect carefully on what it means for you. If you don't currently give to the work of St. Peter's, now is the time to start. If you give occasionally, I'm asking you if you could commit to give regularly. And if you already give regularly, I'm asking you to reflect on the amount of your giving in the context of all that I've said, and to consider whether that could be increased. However you feel able to respond to this message, I want to finish by saying thank you. Thank you for your willingness to listen. Thank you for all that you have done to contribute to the life of our church, and for the faithful generosity that we see constantly from so many. Thank you.